Okay, let's move on to our next habit, which is talk about it. And this again, just to lay the foundation, is not only talking about what we're seeing, what we're engaging with, kind of what you were just mentioning of, using media as a way to connect. So we want to talk about our what we're experiencing, but we also want to, as parents, like narrate what we're doing, talk about our screen use, and let kids know what we're doing and how we're using media in our family, how we're using technology in our family or not. Um, so that's what talk about it is. So obviously we've mentioned already, the importance of those connections, but tell us about the benefits of talking and listening to children. What's the unique factor there?
Yeah, I mean, communication is absolutely key in all relationships, and it's no different for young children. They want to feel heard and understood and validated and important, especially with people that they respect and admire, like their parents and caregivers. So you get a lot of good info when you give your child, your young child, space and opportunity to talk with you about things. It can really increase your understanding around things and also offer them opportunity to gather more information about complex emotions or the reasoning or rationale behind why we do certain things. So it certainly only enriches your relationships and your interactions, particularly with young kids.
How can parents express curiosity? What are the things that we can say? What can give us some scripts to try and practice to be curious, and what does that curiosity and that interest do for a young child?
I mean, first of all, taking interest in your child makes them feel special and important and in love, and loved, right? And modeling curiosity in general is incredibly powerful because it's a huge skill for learning that we want kids to imitate and use in their day-to-day life. I think that you're asking for like scripts, and there are different ways that I think sometimes parents ask questions in a little bit more of a forced choice way versus an open end way that can sometimes make it harder for kids to elaborate or feel safe in kind of sharing their responses and answers. And so we want to try to avoid that. But the
Can you
tone,
give us some examples of
yeah, I
that?
mean, absolutely. I mean, like there'll be sometimes where I'll say to a kid, parents might say, how was your day, right? And kids might just say good, right? Versus like, what was your favorite part of today, right? Or what are your two favorite things that happened today? Or was there anything that made you sad today? Or that type of thing, right? So there, you want to be targeted in what you're asking, but you also want to then actually leave space for your child to answer and not talk over them when they're giving you the response. Like, that's a big deal, right? The volume that you use, the tone that you use, whether or not you're asking while you're on your phone or whether or not you're giving them full eye contact and getting in their space with them, right? So I think the way that you deliver questions sometimes can also make a difference in terms of like what you're going to get out of it. Sometimes just honestly staying silent after you've asked a question and a kid, maybe doesn't give you what you're looking for initially, say, this is a hard one, but I like that you're thinking about it. So you're just kind of saying, I'm going to wait it out. I'm going to give you a little bit more time, right? Like there's no time limit on when you're going to be able to share this with me, and truly being able to praise responses that kids give you, right? So, my my nephew goes to preschool, all the days of the week, and we always ask him, how was your day? He says, great. And we say, what'd you do? And he says, all my ideas. And it's the most adorable thing, right? It's so cute. And we say, oh, okay. But if he follows up and he shares what one of those ideas was, we painted today, we make a big deal. You paint. I love to hear about your day. Thanks for telling me that detail. Oh, I could tell that you painted with red. What did you paint? How fun was it? What did other people paint? Oh, I love hearing about this. So really making sure that you're giving them labeled praise, attention, reinforcement for anything they share with you, even if it wasn't like the most impressive detail ever.
Yeah, love that. So, would you consider like, okay, going back to our 5 minutes idea, not that I want to, dwindle my time with my kids down to 5 minutes of talking and listening or play, but how do they relate to one another? Like, do we need 5 minutes of talking and listening? Do we need 5 minutes of playing? Like, how does all of this relate to one another in terms of really making space for, especially if you have multiple kids, like making space for these really quality conversations and playful interactions, how do you
Right.
work that out?
I mean, in theory, if you're doing the play right, kids are going to volunteer information throughout that play in a way that often is really valuable to parents and does allow them to have some high quality discussion with their child in some way, shape, or form. So it doesn't have to be an either or, it can kind of be a combination of those things. Letting your child lead play in some way does give them some ownership and does increase the quality of that interaction just by
Okay.
definition. Um, but honestly, again, also finding a little bit of time, whether it's snuggle time before bed or it's, on the way to school in the morning, or it may be at a meal time, even if you're not eating, but your child is eating, asking them, what was your favorite part of the day? What was your least favorite part of the day? What are you looking forward to? Kind of that rose, thorn, bud activity type of thing.
Mhm.
But again, it doesn't necessarily need to be every single day that you're hounding them for that information. It's just important that they know that you're interested and that when they volunteer it, you make a big deal out of it so that they're encouraged and want to do more of it.
Okay, got it. Okay, so let's talk about parents talking about tech use, narrating their not even tech use actually. Let's start a little bit take a little step back because one thing that we have recommended in other resources is really just like parents talking about their day, like narrating their activities, narrating what they're doing, and how that's so good for language development and connection. But what are the benefits of that, and how can we extend that to our tech and media use for kids?
I could talk forever on this topic, so I'll do my best, right? In terms of, so there's narrating your child's appropriate behaviors, and that has so many benefits for language development, honestly, increasing attention span. Truly, the research on that subject is incredibly powerful in and of itself. There's also a lot of research to suggest that parents narrating what they're doing, um, positive and negative, right, can go a long way. I'm feeling really frustrated. I'm going to take some deep breaths, or I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. So I'm going to try to change the channel in my brain. I'm thinking about that last night cuddle that we had that really made me really happy, right? So helping kids to think a little bit about how to cope and how to manage big feelings can go an incredibly long way. Narrating and labeling emotions and coping strategy helps the child feel validated. It puts emphasis on the ways that we learn to regulate and self-soothe. So all again, really, really powerful concepts for young children. I think that when it comes to diving into tech use, a really great way of narrating might be something like it's one of the best ways uh, provide information and rationale and boundaries without giving a long lecture. So, as an
Mm.
example, right, you might say something like, your kid asks you, how fast can a cheetah run? And, I don't know that specific stat, right? But I know where to find it, right? So I might say, oh, let's look it up together, right? And we look up, and then they say, well, how fast can a leopard run, right? And then we say, oh, let's look that one up. And then a parent might say something like, I'm going to look up two more animals and then we're going to be finished looking things up for right now. And we're going to race our stuffed animals on our bed, right? So that's a way of being able to say, I'm using my media, I'm using it appropriate, or I'm using my tech to gain information. And then I'm going to put a set boundary on it and do something else that's healthy for my physical body or is going to be fun in real life for me, right? Without giving a long rationale of like, well, we can't be on our phones for too long. Remember, we did it, like kids are not going to pay attention to those long, complex rationales. They're going to pay a little bit more attention to the fact that, like, we used our media for a set period of time. We got what we needed out of it. We're gonna move on.
I love that. Let's stick on this topic of boundaries and kind of explaining to children or modeling to children, especially young children, How do you articulate? How are some ways that would get across to young children like this is going to be our routine, these are the boundaries, this is how we stick to them, and why we're doing these things? How much can really young children understand about the why of like, we're not going to have more than this amount of time of screen time because it hurts your eyes. Like, are they going to get that, or are there other things you'd recommend kind of coaching them around this?
They are going to get it.
Hmm.
It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to change their behavior related to it. And I think that's sometimes the difficult thing for parents to grasp and understand. It's like, I gave you the rationale. Um, Adults know the rationale. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to change their behavior related to it. Right. And so I think that the tricky part is we absolutely do want to provide developmentally appropriate rationale for kids. We don't want to just do something and not have them understand the reasoning or the rationale behind it. That being said, it's just as important to hold the line, to have a boundary, to have a set routine, and to follow the set routine in a predictable way so that kids learn it's not just about the rationale. This is about my parents saying what they mean and meaning what they say, and they're going to follow through in this way no matter what. Because if we continue to bombard the child with the rationale, thinking they're going to have an aha moment all of a sudden and do something different, that's really not so effective, right? I mean, we know that in terms of even when kids get older and like I said, as adults, right? So, really thinking about like if I've already given that rationale, I'm not going to give it again. I'm just going to follow through at this point because giving the rationale and having them refuse it or still get upset just makes me more frustrated. And if I'm just more frustrated and more dysregulated, my ability to follow through is going to get more compromised. So I can expect and accept that the rationale is not going to be sufficient, but it's still important for my child to have it.
Okay. Okay, we're going to come back to this in the next habit because I think that that's where it like really comes up for many families. But before we wrap this talking about it conversation up, I want to know what you would love to see more parents see and hear between parents and children, like when they're watching something together, when they're reading, doing a game on the tablet or whatever. How do you want them to be interacting together?
As I said before, I'm as a therapist, as a psychologist, I'm always teaching children and parents about the connection between thoughts and feelings and behaviors. And so I love to hear when a parent pauses the screen and says, "What do you think they're thinking?" Or "How did
Mm.
you know?" Or "How are they feeling? What were the clues? What were the cues?" How did we know? But let's be a detective of their thoughts and feelings for a minute and figure out how this is going to go. Or I love to hear a parent taking a theme that's appropriate in a show or a video and breathing life into it. Oh, the characters are disappointed, just like we were disappointed the other day when we couldn't go to the park and it was raining. I wonder if they're gonna use some distraction and change the channel in their brain with some fun indoor play the way we did? So I love to hear parents kind of talking about those types of themes or elaborating on those themes, giving their child an opportunity to think more or enrich kind of what it is they're seeing in that way. When kids are playing games online, I of course love to hear parents giving praise or giving acknowledgement for like, wow, great job staying calm. I could tell that this is frustrating and hard, but you're really sticking with it. Or I love the way that you're willing to give me a turn, or, that type of thing. So, what is it we are looking for in terms of good sportsmanship, and how do we make a big deal out of it when your child is actually displaying those skills in some way?
I love this. This is a nice theme, making a big deal out of it, because your kids are a big deal and those things that they do, they're awesome. I love that.